I got a phone call fairly late one night saying that there'd been a water pipe that had burst. It kind of seemed fairly innocuous at the time, but then we discovered that this water pipe had been burst for at least 24 hours, and there'd been a huge build-up of water underneath the surface of the highway, and the pressure eventually blew the surface of the road. What we were unaware of at the time was, of course, that there was a gas main sitting alongside this water pipe and had been pounded by grit and stones for the previous 24 hours. Eventually the gas pipe gave up the ghost and burst, and tons of water poured into the gas main. It was a week before Christmas, it was snowing, the roads were icy, so with a large village like Caddington we were left with the prospect of no water, no gas, and it was snowing, and a large elderly population. Of course, it's only natural then that, of course, when your gas supply goes and it's cold, you kind of put on your electric fires and heaters, things like that. The electricity demand was so great at that juncture that it blew the transformer that served the village of Caddington. So there we were, faced with no water, no gas and no electricity, and it was still snowing. It was an interesting scenario.
The community spirit in the village was amazing. It made the whole village pull together. Neighbours started knocking on doors that they don't normally knock on and seeing if people were okay and things like that. The main centre of the rescue, or whatever you want to call it, was the Sports and Social Club, and people were being ferried up there.
It was organised for each residence to collect 2 fan heaters and an electric cooking hob provided by the National Grid. We were collecting them from the Sports and Social Club. There was a big queue, but as expected, it was very friendly. As we all went home with our gifts, we plugged them in, and it was no great surprise at some point that the electric grid couldn't cope.
The councillors, our helpers, called round, for example, brought fan heaters, electric fan heaters in. And clearly it became, we could hear through the radio that other agencies, volunteer agencies, as well as the statutory services were getting involved, like bringing meals round, things of that nature.
Yes, we've lost business, but your hair didn't seem as important as keeping warm and just making sure that keeping warm, that was the main thing. You don't realise how cold it is with no heating on for a few days. But all I can say is that this thought would be help your neighbours and get through it together, because some parts of the village were affected when others weren't. Just people to be neighbourly and helpful.
Things you can do to prepare. We're doing some work with communities now to set up community emergency groups so people can come together and prepare for the risks that they face. Other things would be signing up for the priority service schemes with the utility companies. There's a certain criteria you have to meet, but then you get extra assistance if we have a utility failure like this. And preparing your own little emergency checklist and having a little emergency kit. For example, if you have to evacuate your house quickly, having a little grab bag somewhere with all the little bits and pieces that you need to look after you and your family.
Incidents like that are always going to happen. You cannot plan for the unexpected like that, but I'm absolutely convinced that not only has the community learned a great deal from what happened, but Central Bedfordshire, in terms of its resilience, has learned a great deal. There's been a number of documents on how the various emergency services reacted. I think for me a real plus point this was how the community came together, and how the community was a stronger place as a result of what happened. So I certainly wouldn't wish this on any community, but if I'm looking at a positive from this, the village community of Caddington is a much stronger, more cohesive place than it was before, and I'm also convinced that Central Bedfordshire as a place is in a better place to react to these sort of incidents should they happen again.